and welcome back to the Week of What Ifs. Today's What If comes to us from Janet Port, who asked the question, what if Ash had a sister? Now you'll notice I used Dawn as the stand-in for, like a fan-made character. And I didn't want to just borrow someone's art without giving them the proper nod, and therefore public domain for this kind of picture, so there you go. I mean, there might be some copyright shit, but they're not going to do anything. And plus, Dawn does look like someone who could be related to Ash. Her hair's on the bluer side, but still, it could be, you could make an argument that in the right context, they could be brother and sister. So there's two ways to look at this, and I know one way people are probably going to want me to explain it. If Ash just had a sister and she didn't become a trainer, and if Ash had a sister and did become a trainer. So let's get the one out of the way first. If Ash had a sister, I'd imagine she'd be younger. Or, hell, she could be older. But either way, if she's younger, she's not going to be a trainer. It's going to be more like Max and May than something. I don't think there was any other circumstance where there was like a brother and sister duo, really, that were both trainers. At least in the main stories. So, getting that out of the way real quick. But let's assume for a moment that Ash's sister is either equal to his age, like a year younger, or a couple years older, where maybe she became a trainer first. What would that look like? Well, first off, she wouldn't be joining Ash on his main journey. I don't even think she'd be joining him on like the Orange League or anything like that. If she meets up with him, I think it'd be in the Johto League. That's where they end up meeting up and they have a reunion. Now, what would her team look like? Well, for me, I had to in terms of like a character that'd be related to Ash, what exactly would her team look like in my mind? I think she'd probably be a Charmander type person. That would definitely be cute, adorable, but a fire lizard turns into a Charizard. I think she'd also probably would, like Ash, catch a Caterpie as her first Pokemon, and then even catch an Eevee later on. But going into the Johto region, which is probably, I think, where she actually winds up, not the Kanto League. Excuse me. That's where she ends up catching the other Pokemon on her team. Those other Pokemon being an Oddish, which would eventually turn into a Bellossom, thanks to a bug catching contest she wins. Snowball that turns into a Gramble, simply because I think that'd be a kind of fun Pokemon for her. And she does end up having a Tyranitar on her team as well, having a kind of pseudo-legendary Pokemon on her team. So I think she would be a pretty powerful trainer. Again, be her like a year younger than Ash or a couple years older than Ash. That's her general team. Now, I also think that she doesn't show up in like every version of the series. So she doesn't show up necessarily in Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos, Alola, and Galar. She doesn't show up in all of them. I think it'd be an intermittent thing that she shows up. So occasionally she might show up in the Sinnoh, but she wouldn't show up in Hoenn. She might show up in Unova, but she might not show up in Alola. So it's a little hit and miss here or there, but I think eventually these two would meet in the ring in combat for the first time. And I'm trying to remember, were they? I think it would be a 3-on-3 match. And remembering Ash's team from Johto real quick, he had Bayleaf, Bulbasaur was still there. Bulbasaur ended up getting back for the Johto. Bayleaf, Charizard came back. Heracross. And obviously Pikachu. So I think if Ash's team, if he used it, would be Pikachu, Heracross, and Charizard, to be quite frank. Like, those are like the three heavy hitters on his team at that point. Likewise, his sister, who, let's just say Ashley, that's pretty easy, would probably use her Charizard, her Espeon, and more than likely her Tyranitar in the way. Like, as strong as Charizard is, because she'd probably have a Charizard too, Tyranitar would be her ace in a hole. And she'd probably start off with her Espeon, which then Ash then goes into using Heracross as his first Pokemon. I think Heracross would actually be a really solid starter. He's pretty tough and bulky. And then, of course, you have a Psychic Fighting going up against a Bug Fighting versus a Psychic type. It'd be a pretty even battle. I think Heracross, though, pulls out the win on that. She then brings out Charizard, who Heracross probably gets one or two solid hits in, but eventually does go down. Then Pikachu goes in, wastes Charizard with some electric attacks. And then Tyranitar comes out, and Pikachu really doesn't do anything to Tyranitar. Rock isn't necessarily resistant to electricity, but it's not. Electricity isn't overly strong against rock. It's pretty neutral, and that Tyranitar would probably be well above Pikachu's level, quite frankly. So it'd be Charizard versus Tyranitar. Unfortunately, Tyranitar has a type advantage against Charizard, being a rock type. Charizard, though, isn't without its strengths as well, able to go toe-to-toe, and apparently knowing Seismic Toss as well, for some freaking reason, which would be 4 times effective on a Tyranitar. So, yeah, it'd be a tough fight, and I think ultimately, though, Ash would barely pull out the win, but he would pull out the win nonetheless. And then Ash would go on to lose against the guy who had the Blaziken. So, that's how that'd go. If we go into the next series, I don't think... I'm trying to think which series she wouldn't show up in. Because I think it would, if I were to guess, it would likely be Sinnoh actually wouldn't be the case. So now that actually would make sense, because now that Ash would reconnect with his sister, she probably wouldn't, she'd probably want to at least go on an adventure with him after just getting back to, catching up with her brother. So, yeah, I think Hoenn would be the best bet for them. She would take her Charizard with her, being her ace. Well, I don't know if she'd take her Charizard with her, because that would kind of be a bro thing. Even though it was her starter, I think she would have a good bond with all of them. So I think Espeon might actually be the better choice she would take with her. So it's Pikachu and Espeon, and they go and they do their thing. They try challenge. Ash challenges the, oh god, can I remember the name of the town? Normal type gym leader, Wallace, was that it? No, Wallace was a different guy. Norman challenges him. That they meet Max and May, and that's a giant 5-way group companionship because Brock shows up. Jesus. Actually, I could make an argument that Max doesn't go with him. I could make a solid argument like they don't want him because Max was a bad character. Max was honestly an irritating character. A know-it-all little brat who thought he was better than you simply because he knew more, but had no experience in the real world whatsoever. And is a little brat because he stole Ash's gym badge from his dad, all because his dad lost. That's a gym leader's job to try to win, but ultimately, when they lose, to accept it with grace. And Jesus, Max, you are really a fucking little brat. Anyway, I never liked that character. He's probably not the most annoying character ever in the show, but he's definitely up there. So, they do their thing. Ash probably would catch his Trico and a Tailo, whereas, and we know Brock got the Mudkip. So, does Ashley catch any of the starters? I don't think Ashley catches at least one of the stars like Ash does every time. I don't think she does that. I think, though, she would probably end up catching, just thinking of some of the, I got Cerebi up right now. Why don't I just get a list of freaking, the Hoenn Pokemon up here? And because I like to try to pin Pokemon that fit with the character involved. I think actually a Ralts would probably fit her pretty well. So I think a Ralts would probably be one of her Pokemon. And before they get to the third gym, I think she'd also probably have a Whismur on her team. I think those would be a good little blend of Pokemon right there. Espeon, Ralts. Actually, no, I probably shouldn't go Ralts because that's another Psychic type Pokemon. Even though it's a fairy now, it wasn't. The fairy didn't exist back then. So let me replace Ralts with a Surskit, which would then get a Masquerain, and then she would get a Whismur. So, Ash, they would try to challenge the gyms, so forth and so on. Ultimately, we know what Ash's team turns out to be. Her team, probably, I don't know if she would honestly be competing. That's the thing. Maybe she'd just be setting this one out, but still, challenge, playing along and, having fun. I can imagine a Swablu, I think, would be a cool addition to her team. And while she wouldn't be training for the actual gym, she'd still maybe have a team of 6. So I would add a Bayonet, so, Shuppet. And then I would also add probably... I'd give her a Tropius. I think a Tropius would be a cool Pokemon to have. So yeah, I think that would kind of be her team. And they'd go have their adventures, everything along those lines. She'd probably bow out for like Sinnoh, probably even Unova, I'd imagine. In fact, she might make a cameo in Kalos. I think you really wouldn't see her show up again until Alola, because that was Ash and Delia on vacation in Alola. So it makes sense that their sister or his sister would go with him. So we know he got Rowlet and a Incineroar. ultimately. But so I imagine she'd get a Populio, excuse me, Populio. Um, I imagine that. I imagine she would probably also. I think Mudsdale would do her well long term. She wouldn't get a Rockruff because we know Ash had that. Pansemian would be a cool one to have on their team, and I think she might be the one of the two that has a dragon type. So either a Drampa or a Jangmo O, I think would suit her well. Um, but ultimately, though, what if Ash had a sister? Well, Ash's sister really wouldn't be much more than another character on the show. That's the long and short of it. I just extended it out a little bit. She'd just be another character because she's not a focal point of. Because none of the side characters are really the focal points of the show. Ash is the focal point of the show. Now, with the new series, what is it? Oh, crap. What's the name of the new series? Best Wishes? Video game anime. Goddamn, what's the name of it called? Pocket Monsters Galar Saga. Pocket Monsters Galar Saga. We do have Hop. Go. Sorry, Hop was from Alola. We do have Go. So he is, it is a whole thing with him. So he's a side main character along with Ash. Who, damn it, Ash, catch some Pokemon. Come on. Because I have Cerebi up here, I check it like almost once a day to see if anything's been updated. But I know how the episodes are going. Ash hasn't caught a goddamn Pokemon so far. Now that said, though, he does have at least his mom's Mr. Mime in his service, which is pretty. It's a pretty good pretty good Pokemon to have. It's also impressive that Mime is actually obeying Ash for a change, but I think it's just because his mom told her to. Told it to. So still, it's a pretty powerful Pokemon. So yeah, you got Galarian Mr. Mines. Maybe Ash will catch one of those. That's a video to maybe make at some point. Is what Galarian Pokemon do I think Ash is going to catch? But who knows? We'll wait and see. But ultimately, that's what I think would happen if Ash had a sister. It's really not that much. Pokemon what ifs, unless I'm going with a real change, like there's the whole idea of what if Ash is from a different region, not Kanto. And I've already done the Johto version of that. I'll eventually one day get to every version of that. But that's a different type of storytelling that I can go into. This is just adding a character who wouldn't ultimately play much of an effect in the show. So, yeah, it's not much, but it's a what if. So now I'll actually be able to put out another new what if on Friday instead of doing this in a two-parter. So, yeah, I look forward to that. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Super Hero, Magic, what if, anything to do in the channel. Put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I got one more video to do. So I'll be back a little later. Bye.